So, today I want to talk about the power of perspective, the power of mind, the power of how you look at the world and how you see things. I, for many years, have been heralding the importance of positive thinking, crap or cone, focusing on the good. And I'm often met with resistance from the outside, as well as sometimes in my own body and will and mind of, kind of that instinct of you got to be more realistic. As if there's some massive cosmic judge that's looking down and saying, hey, you sure are giving yourself a lot of credit. Are you sure you're only noticing the good things? You better give equal time to all the things that suck. And I think that it's incredibly critical, it's incredibly important to try to dissolve that voice that's trying to pull you back into giving equal weight to what's bad, or even giving more weight to what's bad, as if that's the most realistic, because that's the cultural voice, the cultural messaging is that reality is hard and painful and struggle. And if you don't spend your fair time in that place, then that's not reality. And there are way out there thinkers, way out there, depending on where you're standing, that teach that you need to push that, change the way you believe, and it actually will change the world. There's a channeled entity named Bashar, and his big kick is that you experience reality exactly as how you believe the world is. And if you can change what you believe to be reality, you will start experiencing a different world. And that there are actually multiple, infinite realities happening, and you simply are in the moment experiencing the one that you are able to believe. And then he says, if you find that idea just too hard, just impossible, well, that's a belief too. But let's say that there is let's say that you're not ready to go full bore, I create my own reality. Let's pull it back into science. Let's pull it back into the concrete. I just saw a show, or listened to a Radiolab show. Radiolab is a incredibly, just beautiful, insightful, well put together podcast that I'm a huge fan of. And they just did, or I just listened to an old episode they did about placebo. Now, placebo is one of the two things that I go to all the time as examples of how you better not be too attached to this whole, the world can be measured and is all based on hard science and stuff, because placebo, the two are placebo and hypnotism. Both of those things are scientifically proven examples of how your experience of reality is determined by your mind. So placebo, if you're not well versed in that idea, is that if you give someone a placebo pill, meaning it's a pill that has it's inert, it's a sugar pill, it does nothing, but you tell a person, you tell a patient that this is going to fix them, if a person believes that it is helping them, they will create in their mind the ability, it will make it happen. They will start to heal themselves. Their body will produce, in many cases, the number of people that are helped by a placebo is just as much as is helped by a medication. Think about that. Blows my mind. There are some people that argue that all medicine is a form of placebo. And so as we scoff and mock things in the past of voodoo and bloodletting and leeches, and as we laugh at those things, it doesn't matter what's actually happening on a physical scientific basis, because if a person believes that this is working, it will work. This is not woo-woo stuff. This is hard science has proven over and over again that placebo works. gets into some interesting things, because if you know it to be true, if you know that deception is your patient's best chance of healing, is it wrong to deceive them and give them a placebo? Or is it wrong to not give them a placebo? There's a lot of challenging things that happen with in medical ethics in that realm. That's not where I want to go, because I don't know my way around that minefield. But I just want to talk about a few of the examples that I heard in this podcast that I just thought were flipping amazing. And I hope that as you digest these things, it softens maybe some of the judgments you have about maybe things that you've thought about being silly. Like Louise Hayes is this beautiful older woman that she wrote "Heal Your Thoughts, Heal Your Life," something like that. And she does things like, she says, no matter what your problem is, go to the mirror every morning and just look in your eyes and say, "I love you, you're amazing, I love you." And it seems almost silly. I don't do it. But the voice in my head that thinks that's silly really deserves a smackdown when you think about, dude, placebo works. If your mind can be in alignment with this belief that these things are helping, they will help. And if you think this is going to hurt you, it will hurt. It's one of the things I think about as far as dieting. I'm not a aggressive count my calories, or I eat large amounts of things. I do have a bad tendency of liking to make myself really full, which unfortunately as I get older is causing different body reactions in terms of my belly. Anyway, the point is, I'm less about counting calories and more about thinking positively about the effects of food as I eat it. Now, I can't prove that with science. I've not been studying myself, but sometimes people ask me, well, how do you, what do you eat? What do you exercise? And I believe a big part of my health is my attitude about food. So there were so many great examples. One was, there was a guy that did this placebo research where and placebo works with all sorts of stuff, from warts to Parkinson's. And so there was a study where they did Parkinson's, this degenerative nerve disease. And one of the things that they can do with people with Parkinson's is they can cut open the brain and put a little transistor or transmitter in the part of the brain that's misfiring, and by turning it on, it can stop the tremors. And they did a study like that, and except they tricked people. They said, okay, we're turning on the transmitter now. And they would go, and we're turning it on now. Crazy. But the one that really just knocked my head for a loop, which happens a lot with Radiolab, and that's why I love it. What's cool is that they often will not take it the next 2 steps into the spiritual realm, but I'm like, whoa, you know what the implications of that are? So here was the study, or the example. There was I think it was in maybe World War II, World War I maybe? A war in the past, before I was born. And there was a doctor, a field medic, that found himself kind of caught in a place with his unit that was kind of far away from supplies and for reinforcements. And so he had all these injured people, and so he went soldier to soldier and tried to check in and say, how much pain are you in? How much pain are you in? Because he only had a certain amount of morphine to treat people with. And as he went around, person to person to person, almost all of them said, I'm okay. I'm okay. He's like, you've got a gunshot wound. I'm okay. I'm okay. And this doctor had an experience before the war dealing with people with gunshot wounds in terms of in his hospital experience. And he said, that never happens. Nobody ever comes in with a gunshot wound and goes, I'm okay, I don't need any more morphine. They're like, please give me more. And so he's all, what is happening? And his conclusion was context. The story. The story that a person tells about a situation affects on a neurological experience of their reality. So the example they gave here was, let's say you are in war, you're shot, and your story starts going. You're like, oh my God, I've been shot. Okay, I'm still alive. Okay, if I make it through this, I'm gonna get to a hospital. I'm gonna be safe for a while. I'm gonna be okay. There's gonna be nurses around. I might get sent home. I could get a medal. I'm gonna be a hero when I get home. And so suddenly, this scenario is there's positive aspects to the situation, and you're alive, and it's all uphill. On the other hand, the example they gave is, let's say you're tending your liquor store and someone comes in and you get shot during a holdup. That story there is, there's no upside to that. It's just, oh, lost work, pain, lost this is gonna, and so this story, this context, which has nothing to do with the actual trauma of the tissue, massively impacts the way we experience the exact same physical situation. The same physical sensations, the same signal to the brain is interpreted different by the story that we have on the brain on a subconscious level. Wow! Do you get that? The way we feel a gunshot is changed, is different depending on the story we have around that gunshot wound and how it's going to affect us. We talk a lot on the difference between pain and suffering. Pain is the actual physical sensation. You have no control over that. Suffering is the story you tell around it. But this example is saying, actually, the actual pain you feel is determined by the story you tell around it. That, to me, is like such a brain bender, such a reminder of the critical importance of being conscious of how you tell your story, how you see the world. And that if you do find yourself slipping into pessimism, glass half full, crap too much, it's important to find a way to snap back and question that, and trick yourself, or say affirmations, or look into the mirror, or brainwash yourself. Do whatever you have to do, because the story you tell changes your reality. Man, I love it. And it's one of the reasons why, I try to say, like, I lead a charmed life. I lead a charmed life. I lead a charmed life. Now, do things go right for me most of the time? Yes. Do they always go right? No. But I do my best to not spend too much time in that story, and to spend as much time as I can in the story that makes me happy, because then I experience all aspects of the life in a positive way. And I know that the trouble with that whole idea is that it becomes kind of a downward spiral. Once you're in a negative space, it's very hard to kick yourself out. But the reason why I think placebo is so important is that it can become this hard science anchoring thing to say, hey, you're spiraling. And placebo is this stop sign saying, your thoughts, whatever they're feeling right now, whatever they are, is just one part of the equation, and it's affecting other things. You're not experiencing reality, you're experiencing elements of reality, physical sensations, filtered through a story. Always, 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 always. There are stimulus filtered through story. Stimulus filtered through story. Stimulus filtered through story. So if you're unhappy, it's not the stimulus. It's the story. And the story is not absolute. The story is not like the idea of that's fact, man. That's just fact. How often is a fact absolute? Even facts, in a crime case, it can be disputed as people look at different parts of the evidence and the way different elements of perception. So getting too attached to a judgment about a situation or a feeling or whatever based on going stimulus through my story equals bad, like, oh, from what I've learned about placebo, I now have to assume that this is an arbitrary equation. This is an arbitrary judgment. I've arrived at this negative perception arbitrarily. And I can look back at the equation and go, I actually can change pieces of the equation to make myself happier. This is way easier said than done. But once you realize that's possible, I mean, let's say it again. We know this is so. Stimulus plus story equals experience. So if your experience is not what you want it to be, you can look and do a little algebra and go, I can change the stimulus. That's hard. It depends on what it is. Sometimes if it's a loud room, I can leave the room. Or it's my story, which I can change my story. Either one I can change and it will change my experience. Way too many people receive passively the experience of their life, not understanding this equation. That experience is not an absolute. You don't walk through life and go, this is happening to me, this is happening to me, this is happening. I'm a victim of all these things. No. You are having experiences that is the sum or the multiplication or the equation of this algebraic stimulus, story, experience. Have I hammered that home enough? I'm saying it partially to myself. You know, I've actually gone through a cool kind of fluctuation. You know, I was struggling with this experience of my new work, and I'm in the office now, and this is not my ideal way to try to do a broadcast. I can hear voices and loud things, and I'm struggling to stay, you know, focused. And the first few weeks here, I was away from. Well, I'm still away from my girlfriend and my life in San Diego, and I was really. My story about it was about survival. And slowly but surely, the experience is changing because I'm changing the story. And so as I'm in this moment right now, sharing with you, I'm appreciative of that knowledge, that incredibly empowering knowledge of how much control we have. And I think that placebo is just a critical piece of that equation. Whenever the world tries to anchor you to reality, placebo can smack you upside the head and say, "Anchor? Pshaw! Let no physical thing anchor you to this reality you speak of." Who am I? I'm Professor Placebo, and I'm here to change your world. So let's have a HugNation hug, and let's anchor this experience. If you're not having a good experience, well, then change your story about that. But let's have a good one together if we can. So grab yourself by the shoulders, and as you feel it, you feel a physical sensation that might remind you of this moment, this shared experience, this recalibration that we do each week. If it reminds you of something else, if it reminds you of being alone, change the story. Get yourself back into an experience of uplifting, of alignment, of positivity, of love. So as we share this moment, remind ourselves that we are in control. We are so in control of how we experience the world. We are so in control of our thoughts and what we choose to embrace and believe and what we choose to let go of and simply witness. And that act of control, that crafting of our reality by how we believe and let go of thoughts determines our level of joy, our level of appreciation, our level of alignment. Finding that space of alignment with the beliefs that resonate with you, that level of alignment, that is the integrity that keeps us buzzing in this divine state of flow. So as we share this moment now, let's try to keep this buzz and keep our alignment, keep our flow going through the week, reminding each other, one another, that we are all in this space. We are all helping one another. We're all getting one another reminders of how we can be at our best. And that story, that affirmation, is the one we want to hold on to and be a part of our equation so that we experience the world as a place of miracles and opportunities and adventure and love. Let's take 3 breaths together, in through the nose, out through the mouth. On behalf of Grandpa Caleb and all the love warriors, happy HugNation. Thank you for being you and walking your walk. I'm so grateful to share this time, to share this vibration. I love you. Namaste.